So we're going to draw a triangle. So almost everybody did that. And then R, S, and T. Are these side lengths or are they angle measures? The sides are angles. Sides, absolutely. So if those are side lengths, so they're Sev. I've got R to S is 14, and then S to T is 10, and T to R is 16. That means my longest side is the 16, right? So my biggest angle is going to be the S. Did I do that right? So my S is the largest. And then if the 10 is the smallest, that means the R is the smallest. And the T is the middlest. It's not really a word. I just like making up words. So I'm going to see if I can put the link in the chat for you. My dog is going bananas. Did Seb make it in? I tried to let him in. Seb, are you here? Oh, there you are. Boom. Let's look at number 2. So we did triangle sum. Number 2 was a similarity problem. So for similarity, you want scale factor, right? Similar, we're going to multiply or divide by the same number. So what can I multiply 3, multiply 5, and multiply 4 by in order to get one of these sets down here? Anybody got an idea? Can I multiply 3 by? Say it again. I can multiply everything by 3, right? So if I multiply it all by 3, 3 times 3 is 9. And 4 times 3 is 12. And 5 times 3 is 15. So this is my similar triangle. So hopefully that kind of helps, maybe. Good morning, Michael. I just gave you the Pear Deck link in the chat so you can catch up with us. Basically, when we're doing scale factor, when we're doing similarity, we need to have some kind of scale factor. We need to be able to multiply everything by all the sides by a specific number or divide it by a specific number in order to get something bigger or smaller. So that's kind of how you want to work through that question. Our trig, what do we have to remember with trig?
Sine or tangent.
Exactly. So sine, so, cosine, ca, and tangent, toa. So how do I get the so, ca, and the toa? Talk me through it. What do I have to mark?
Well, since you have 6 directions,
Nice. So I can't do toa because I have the hypotenuse. Beautiful, which means I can't use cosine because I have the opposite. So how do I organize the O and the H?
Put the O on top of the H.
The O definitely goes on top of the H. So my O is X and my H is 15. And then do I multiply here or divide?
multiply.
Definitely multiply. So in your calculator, you would do either sine 22 times 15, or you could put in 15 and then sine 22. Either way works because multiplication is commutative, and you should get 5.6 when you're done. I'm so proud of you guys. You're killing the trig. Okay, this was straight out of yesterday. What do I have to remember? What formula do I have to remember? for interior angles of a polygon?
Is it x minus n minus 2 parentheses and 180?
Yes. Yes, I love it. And then what's the n? How do I find the n?
The number of sides of the element.
For certain. So if I use my 5, this is going to be a pentagon. 5 minus 2 times 180 is 540. Excellent. What's the trick for number 5? Number 5 on the face of it looks a little tricky, but then you get into it and it's pretty straightforward. What do I have to know about a rectangle? Absolutely. All of those angles are right angles. So if I know it's a rectangle, then I know it has right angles, right? So what's the value of x? So x is an angle. What do I know about this triangle? It is a right angle. And what do I know about all the angles in every triangle ever created on Earth? They all add up to, what should all of those angles in the blue triangle add up to be? $180. Yeah, absolutely. So we just need to set up an equation for all of those angles to equal 180 degrees. Sometimes we make the connection that if they all equal 180 and we have a 90-degree angle, then those two pink angles equal 90 degrees. So some smart people might have actually written this equation, which has a little less work in it. Either way, when you solve that equation, what do you get for x? 12. Fantastic. Love it, love it, love it. All right, done, done, done. Number 6. Probably tomorrow we'll talk about the quadrilaterals. I'm hoping we'll, be ready for that tomorrow. But I would draw a parallelogram. I would draw a rectangle and a rhombus. I'm not a very good rhombus drawer. A rhombus and a trapezoid. And I usually draw isosceles trapezoids, but it doesn't have to be that. So this is my parallelogram, this is my rectangle, this is my rhombus, and this is my trapezoid. And what's it asking me about? Which shape must have opposite sides that are parallel and congruent? Parallel and congruent. So I've got parallel and congruent, and parallel and congruent, right? So A works. And a rectangle has parallel and congruent. Remember, the parallel is the arrows and the congruent is the tick marks. So rectangles have parallel and congruent sides, right? How about the rhombus? Does it have parallel and congruent sides? Anybody remember?
No.
I think it does. I heard a yes and a no at the same time. So parallelograms are squares that have been run over by a truck. I know that sounds weird. My brain works in very weird ways. It's okay. You can judge me for it. I don't mind. But a rhombus is a square that's been run over by a truck. So squares have all 4 sides that are congruent. Rhombus has been run over, so it's tilted a little bit. So they do have parallel and congruent sides. Rhombuses do. Trapezoids have 1 pair of parallel sides and maybe, if it's isosceles, 1 pair of congruent sides. But it doesn't have all sides that are parallel and congruent. So I've got to cross off my trapezoid. I like eliminating stuff. It makes me happy. Then diagonals that are perpendicular bisectors of each other. So think about what perpendicular bisector means. Perpendicular means they meet at what kind of angle?
Right.
A right angle, absolutely. And bisect means to do what?
Cut in half.
Cut in half. So if I draw I should have started with the parallelogram because it was A. If I draw my diagonals of a rectangle, are these angles in here perpendicular? Are those 90 degrees?
No.
I don't think so. So I don't think it's a rectangle because they're not perpendicular. If I do the parallelogram, are those perpendicular? Like, do I have two right angles here, or do I have an obtuse and an acute? Yeah, so I don't think it's the parallelogram. So let me do it here in the rhombus. And again, I'm not very good at drawing rhombuses, but does that look like maybe it's a right angle? It does. And I'll tell you that the top and the bottom are going to be the same, and the two sides are going to be the same. Mostly because the same thing holds true in a square, right? So if a rhombus is a square that's been run over by a truck, it has everything the square has except for the right angles and the corners. So that guy's going to be rhombus. And those are just, I call them time-sucking questions. They're not really that hard. You just have to be super careful to get all of those little details right, which is just a little crazy in my opinion, but whatever. I was so happy to see that everybody noticed that was an equal. That's a congruent mark, right? So we've got to find a pair of sides that are congruent. Which sides did you use? So some people use ST. What does ST go with?
I did all of them.
Did you do all of them?
Yeah.
Just to confirm that they were right?
Yeah.
So what'd you do with ST? What goes with ST?
The 4x minus 5.
Absolutely, XY. And then what goes with SW?
The 4x minus 3.
That XZ, the 4x minus 3. And then the last pair would be the TW and the ZY. What did you get when you set all those equal to each other?
4.
Nice. So you can do any of these. You can do the red equation. You can do the pink equation. Or you can do the blue equation. Any and all of those are going to give you the exact same answer as long as the question is written correctly. Okay? But the tricky part here is to look at the key. Kind of looks like a weird face. To look at the key to make sure you get the right things that are matched up, because this triangle has been like rotated and flipped, and it's like it doesn't look like it should match up, right? So that's the key, is to use the letters up there. Any questions on those? Yeah. Is everybody with me on that homework?